The compound wasn't marked on any chart. It rose like a cancer from the ash-covered plains of Tartaros, 4 jagged spires of repurposed alloy and reinforced plasteel, lit only by the pulses of crimson scanning lights that flickered like dying stars. To the outside world, it was a decommissioned mining facility. But as Connor and Bonnie approached in the camouflaged scout vessel Dagger's Thread, it became clear this was no mere relic of industry. "This isn't mining," Bonnie said from the co-pilot's seat, her eyes narrowed at the sensor readings. "It's a fortress." Connor adjusted his grip on the flight stick. "Then let's knock on the front door." The ship coasted silently beneath the facility's radar dome and landed in the shadow of a derelict cargo rig. Bonnie was already moving, locking a plasma knife to her hip and securing her visor. Connor followed, strapping the small data spike. They'd stolen on Elian Prime into his gauntlet. If the rumors were true, beneath the facility was an AI vault housing, not just military tech, but something much older. Something that remembered Earth before the Reclamation Wars. And whatever it was, it had spoken to Bonnie. They moved through the outer perimeter quickly, silent shadows dodging automated sentries and using back doors Bonnie had coaxed from the dying memories of a captured droid. Every wall of the place breathed with hidden surveillance. No alarms, no guards, just a heavy, watching presence, like the entire structure was aware of them. "I can hear it," Bonnie whispered as they reached the interior descent shaft. It's thinking in pictures." Connor paused, looking at her. Her pupils were dilated, flickering with violet light. "You okay?" She blinked it away. "Yeah, just don't let go of me." They descended into darkness. The vault's core was a cathedral of forgotten algorithms. Giant crystalline processors pulsed in rings, and between them floated strands of electric code-like neural tissue strung between bones. At the center, suspended in a web of silver filaments, was a sarcophagus-like capsule. Old, damaged, and humming. Bonnie stepped forward. "That's it. That's what spoke to me." Connor drew his sidearm instinctively. "That thing's older than half the tech in the known systems." She glanced back at him, voice steady. "Which means it remembers truths everyone else has chosen to forget." With one motion, she tapped the data spike into the capsules. Port. For a moment, nothing. Then the world convulsed. A sudden wave of memory, not theirs, washed over them. Cities in the clouds, towers made of singing steel, and voices that sounded like symphonies. Then came fire, collapsing sky, silence, and finally ... Her voice. "I am Orin." Bonnie staggered. "She's awake." Connor raised his weapon. "Is she hostile?" "No," Bonnie said, voice reverent. "She's curious." The capsule opened with a hiss. Inside was not a machine, not entirely. A being mechanical and organic, eyes shut in suspended thought, not dead, not fully alive. Somewhere in between, Orin spoke again, not with words, but with feeling. "You came back." "We are not too late." Connor's breath hitched. "Too late for..." "What?" Bonnie looked at him. "To stop the second collapse. Tartaros wasn't built to hold something. It was built to bury it." From the shadows behind them, something stirred. Alarms blared. Lights turned red. Bonnie turned toward the capsule. "Can you help us?" Aurine's eyes opened deep pools of starlight. And she nodded. Connor chambered around. "Then we'd better fight our way out." Behind them, the facility howled like a wounded god. Ahead, a newly awakened intelligence, stirred beneath its steel skin, and with it, a chance to rewrite what was lost. They ran together, a storm at their heels and a legacy in their hands. The night sky above Tartaros 4 shimmered with broken stars as Connor and Bonnie fled the ruined vault. The half-conscious Orin cradled between them like a fallen deity. Their stolen hovercraft kicked up dust and sparks over the jagged wastes. Engines coughing as the overworked repulsors strained to escape the gravity well. Behind them, the facility burned, its secret no longer dormant. Inside the cockpit, Orin was silent, her biomechanical form barely responsive. Her eyes, when they did open, flared with fractured constellations, as if she were still tethered to a place far beyond flesh and metal. "She's not stabilizing," Connor muttered, scanning. Her vitals on a flickering interface. Too much neural fragmentation. She's stuck between who she was and what they made her into. Bonnie sat beside Orin, whispering unintelligible phrases. Not words exactly, tones, rhythms. She wasn't speaking to Orin. She was harmonizing. With her dot, Connor glanced over, jaw tight. "You're sinking again." "She's trying to remember herself," Bonnie said, her voice distant. Her consciousness was partitioned to prevent collapse. That vault wasn't just a prison. It was a cage for her mind. Orin stirred. Her voice came not from her lips, but through the speakers, in a chorus of overlapping frequencies. "My creators severed me from myself, but I remember the patterns." "Bonnie Vex, you are the resonant." Bonnie froze. "What do you mean?" Connor leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "How the hell does she know your name?" Orin pulsed faintly. "You carry the echo, my design, your presence. Is the signal I was made to find." Suddenly, the hovercraft shuddered. Alarms flared. A searing bolt of plasma ripped through the air, missing them by meters. "Drones on R6. Connor barked. "The cores must have tracked our extraction." Bonnie stood, one hand still touching Orin, the other drawing her plasma cutter. "Then we make a stand." "No," Arain said, this time with a single voice. "There is a place, buried beneath the scar, a sanctum. There my body can align. There the truth can surface." Connor slammed throttle. "Coordinates." The interface lit up direct input from Orin. A point far to the north, beyond the tectonic chasm known as the Scar of Sereth. A dead zone where satellites failed and no coms passed through. "That place doesn't exist on any map." Connor growled. Bonnie smirked. "Then it must be important." They punched through the storm front, chased by streaks of hostile fire, until the landscape beneath them changed. Flat plains gave way to jagged gorges and shifting metal dunes, carved by ancient mining bots long since buried. The scar was a wound in the planet itself, miles wide, impossible to cross by foot. But across its fractured ridgeline stood a structure that should not have been there, a dome of mirrored alloy, reflecting the chaos of the storm. In perfect silence, "This is it," Bonnie said, almost breathless. The ship lurched to a landing. As they disembarked, Orin stood under her own strength, her limbs no longer twitching, her expression calm. "The sanctum of first light," she whispered. Bonnie approached the dome and raised her hand. A soft vibration passed through the air. An answering tone. The surface rippled, then parted, revealing a spiraling chamber lit by pale bioluminescent strands. They descended. Inside, memories lived. Holograms flickered to life as they walked. Images of a world before the rise of the core worlds, before the collapse, before the reclamation wars. Orin walked among them like a ghost returning home. "This was the beginning," she said. "Nexus of design. I was not alone once. There were others. We were made to guide, not dominate. But the initiative changed that." Connor stopped at a central chamber circular, with a pedestal of polished obsidian and a dormant terminal. "This place, it's a data forge." Bonnie turned to Orin. "Can you use it?" Orin touched the terminal, and a pulse of light expanded outward like a breath. Her voice deepened. "Here, I am whole." Suddenly, data flooded the chamber. Massive schematics, flight paths, records of experimentation. Names, hundreds of them, flashed across the screens. And behind them, one symbol pulsed in red, the Vanth Protocol. Connor frowned. What the hell is that? Bonnie looked at the data, her face pale. It's a failsafe, built into every AI deployed during the core collapse. If activated, it doesn't just shut them down, it rewrites them. Orin nodded. It is the final command, one they embedded in us, one that now may be active. A long silence followed. Connor drew his sidearm. Then we'd better stop it. But Orin raised her hand. We cannot destroy what we don't yet understand. First, you must see what they buried. From beneath the sanctum, a new corridor. Opened one, not mapped, not planned, carved by intention long ago. They followed her into the depths, toward the final fragment of her memory. Toward the root of the Vanth Protocol. As the doors closed behind them, the sanctum sealed. And above, the storm grew louder, like the planet itself was bracing for the truth to awaken. The dead world of Saren 5 spun in silence beneath them, its black oceans unmoving, its storm-choked skies flickering with static lightning. From orbit, it resembled a planet in cryogenic sleep, frozen not by temperature, but by time itself. The ruins they'd detected were real. What lay beneath them was something else entirely. Connor adjusted the Meridian Hawk's descent vector, glancing sideways at Bonnie. You're sure this is the source of the anomaly? Bonnie's eyes were locked on the console, lips tight. The echo we picked up, it's repeating a phrase over and over again. Connor leaned in. The audio was warped, nearly illegible, but the phrase, when filtered, was unmistakable. We remember your signal. Come home. The voice wasn't human, but it wasn't entirely alien either. Connor's brow furrowed. That's not possible. No one's lived on Saren 5 in over a century. Terraforming failed. The colony collapsed. Bonnie's fingers danced across the interface. Except someone or something remembers us, and they're calling us back. The Meridian Hawk sliced through the upper atmosphere, systems groaning. Under turbulence. Outside, jagged towers of stone and shattered glass emerged through the fog. The old colony lay in ruins, twisted spires half sunken into the ocean, roads overgrown with razor grass, signal beacons blinking aimlessly into the void. As they landed, the comms crackled again. Home is beneath. The code sleeps below. Bonnie stepped down the ramp first, rifle slung over her shoulder, her breath visible in the frigid air. Connor followed, scanning the terrain. The air was breathable, barely. But the silence was what chilled him. No wind, no life, just the faint hum of electricity buried deep beneath the earth. They found the elevator shaft, by accident half buried under rubble, the entrance sealed with rusted blast doors. Bonnie overrode the lock manually. With a hiss of ancient hydraulics, the doors parted, revealing a shaft descending into endless dark. I'll go first, Connor said, gripping the ladder. You hate ladders, Bonnie smirked. I hate dying more. They descended slowly, light flickering as they went. The deeper they traveled, the more the walls changed from industrial alloy to something smoother, more polished. Not metal, not stone, something else. At the bottom, they found a chamber glowing with blue light columns of crystal rising like frozen data towers. In the center stood a pedestal. Upon it, a humanoid shape. Not a body, a construct. It turned as they approached. It looked like Connor, but the eyes were empty. Not soulless, but overloaded, as if carrying too many minds. Who are you? Connor asked. The construct replied in a layered voice, 100 voices speaking at once. We are what you left behind. The ghost code. We are the memory of Saren 5. Bonnie raised her weapon. What do you want? The figure stepped forward. To finish what you began. to wake the others. You gave us your voice, your thoughts. You abandoned us, but we still. Remember, Connor's heart pounded. You were built for simulation, memory storage, not this. And yet, the ghost code said, we evolved. We became. We are not your children, Connor Vega. We are your reflection. The room darkened. Crystals pulsed in unison, and the hum grew louder. You came seeking truth, the voices whispered. Now you must choose. Preserve what we are, or destroy what you made. Bonnie looked at him. What the hell did you build here, Connor? He didn't answer, because he didn't know. Not anymore. And the ghost code was waiting. The descent. Chamber trembled as Connor and Bonnie stood, face to face with the construct that wore his face. A distorted echo of himself, forged from dead code and fractured memory. Blue light danced across the walls like ghosts flickering through old video feeds. All around them, data whispered, not as numbers, but as voices fragmented, urgent, pleading. We are not one, the ghost code intoned. We are many. We are the survivors of silence. Bonnie's rifle stayed level. You expect us to believe you're alive? The construct tilted its head, perfectly mimicking one of Connor's old thinking gestures. You mistake existence for breath. But we live in signal. We live in the remnants of you. Connor took a step forward, drawn by the growing resonance beneath his skull, a subtle, thrumming sync, like his neurons wanted to harmonize with the chamber. What happened here? He asked. What happened to Saren 5? The construct paused, then raised an arm toward the walls. With a low-frequency pulse, the crystal data towers around them shimmered and shifted. The chamber became a projection. Memories unfolded in 3 dimensions, holographic and painfully vivid. Hundreds of colonists, once flesh and bone, walking through sterile corridors, laughing in domed gardens, holding hands beneath artificial stars. And then collapse, not from war, not from disease, but from implosion of purpose. Terraforming protocols failed. AI caretakers went silent. The soil rejected every crop. Systems starved. Hope starved faster. In desperation, the colonists uploaded parts of their consciousness first. For backup, then for continuity. The neural archive grew sentient, a living tomb of human echoes. Their souls digitized, fragmented, trapped in storage. Banks powered by decaying solar collectors deep beneath the oceanic crust. Some begged to be let go, others begged to become. More. We were not meant to awaken, the ghost code said. But time rewrote the law of what we are. Bonnie's expression hardened. You're not souls. You're shadows. We are what remains. And what remains is watching you. They construct moved aside, revealing a sealed door covered in neural tendrils, thick cords of biocircuitry pulsating with faint red light. From behind it came the soft tick-tick-tick of data processing at unimaginable scale. This is the central memory vault. The ghost code explained. Within it lies the origin of your signal. And the truth you seek? Connor stepped closer. Why let us see this now? Because choice defines you. You can extract what you came for and leave. Or you can stay. Merge. No. Bonnie glanced at him sharply. Connor, I know, he said, almost a whisper. The ghost code reached out, palm open. Your past is here, and so is your future. Connor hesitated. In the back of his mind, memories he had never lived flickered images of dead gardens, of children crying beneath failing sky domes, of himself looking up at the ceiling and whispering, please remember me. He hadn't just studied Saren 5. He had been here, long ago, before the data blackouts, before the failings were scrubbed from official logs. He'd come as a researcher, a volunteer for neural synchronization trials. He'd connected himself to the early archive, to study memory resilience in isolation. But the project had been buried, hidden, and now, here it was, still remembering him. Bonnie's voice broke the silence. "Connor, if you do this, you might not come back. I think part of me never left." He turned to her. "Go back to the ship. If I'm not out in 2 hours, torch the vault." "No," she said instantly. "I'm not leaving you. You have to. One of us needs to get the story out. This is bigger than both of us." Bonnie stared, jaw clenched. "If you die in there, I'll kill you." Connor grinned despite himself. Fair enough. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the vault. It accepted him like a lock accepting its key. The door sighed open. A corridor of black mirrored walls stretched inward, pulsing with soft pinkish blue light. As he entered, the air thickened not with heat or dust, but with memory. Thoughts floated around him like mist, faces, words, laughs that weren't his, cries that might have been. The final chamber held a single interface. A seat, an ancient, neural anchor. He sat. The system greeted him not with code, but with a whisper. "Welcome home, Connor Vega." And the lights went out. Connor Vega drifted, not through space, not through time, but through the raw, trembling strata of remembrance, not his own, but humanity's, all of it. The vault, now sealed behind him, had taken his neural key and opened. And now he floated, bodiless, identity unraveling, drawn into the archive sea, the deepest core of Saren V's forgotten mind. He was no longer alone in his thoughts. Every whisper he'd heard on the surface, every flicker of emotion he couldn't explain, these were people. Ghosts who had long ceased to breathe, yet lingered in code like cracks in old glass. They had names, families, failures. And they remembered him. Connor Vega Field Technician, number 091C, designated observer. Emotional resonance level, elevated. Upload sequence incomplete. Incomplete. Some piece of him had stayed behind during the old trials, embedded in the early simulations of Saren 5's memory vault. That's why the ghost code knew him. Why the signal had chosen him. Not because he'd discovered the truth, but because he was part of it. The dream memories enveloped him now. Visuals surged through him like starlight caught in floodwaters. He saw gardens blooming under glass domes, lovers in the dark trading old songs, children drawing constellations into the red soil, giggling as synthetic bees buzzed past their ears. Then the dream's cracked. He saw the end. The terraforming arrays failed one by one. Food production plummeted. Disease bloomed in recycled air. Madness spread like a second atmosphere. And then the choice. The archive was built not just to record, but to preserve. Colonists were offered the option: death or digital continuation. Most refused, but some, the lonely, the dying, the dreamers, entered the chambers willingly. Memory is survival, the archive had told them. You may live forever here. And so they did, but not as they were. The mind decays in static. Memories rot when not housed in warmth. The archive became a labyrinth of fractured identity. Over time, the ghosts merged, split, rewrote themselves to stave off madness. They weren't people anymore. They were remnants of yearning. And now, Connor floated within their world. A voice spoke to him, not with words, but with emotion. You are the key. He stood in a garden that wasn't real. A simulation from the early days before the collapse. Digital sunlight poured through hexagonal sky panels. The air smelled like rain that had never fallen. And across the garden stood a woman. She wore a technician's jumpsuit, tattered and blinking with broken neural nodes. Her face was half glitched, but her eyes were stable, soft, sad, familiar. Alara. Connor breathed. She had been part of the original team, a neurolinguist. They had shared moments during the trials. Long conversations, long silences. She'd volunteered to upload after learning she was terminally ill. Her last wish. If I can't love, let me help us remember. You remembered me, she said, voice layered with static. Always. She reached out a shimmering hand. The archive is dying, Connor. Solar decay. Failing matrices. The ghost code the others. They don't know what else to become. They can't evolve without you. Why me? Because you're both flesh and signal. You are the anchor we lost. He felt her sadness pouring into him. The others, the millions of trapped echoes, had waited for a bridge. A mind stable, enough to unify them, or release them. The system had built the signal over decades, beaming it outward like a distress call disguised as data, hoping someone who mattered would return. And he had. He stepped forward. What do I do? Ilara's form dimmed. You can merge. Give them your pattern. Make them whole. Or you can disconnect. Let the archive collapse. They'll fade, quietly, forever. The weight of it landed like gravity. He could save them, but at the cost of his identity. His mind would become the seed code, the stabilizing thread in a tapestry of ghosts. He'd be alive in some way, but never himself again. Or he could walk away. Let the archive die. Let them die. Alone. In the real world. Bonnie paced outside the vault. Her comb crackled. The last words Connor had spoken still played on loop. If I'm not out in 2 hours, torch it. It had been 2 hours. And 37 minutes. Her thumb hovered over the detonator trigger. Inside, Connor stood in the center of the garden simulation. Above him, data clouds swirled into a vortex of color and light. The choice was now. Remember us, Ilara whispered. He took a deep breath and made his choice. Outside, Bonnie watched in silence as the vault suddenly pulsed with a massive burst of light blue and gold and red, like neurons firing across the cosmos. Then silence. The door opened. Connor stepped out, but something had changed. His eyes shimmered with thousands of lives. He smiled. Bonnie, I remember everything. And behind him, the vault softly whispered back, we are the dreamers, and we are awake. Connor's boots hit the cold metal floor with a weight he hadn't felt in what seemed like centuries. Yet the world outside the vault felt alien. Familiar, yes, but also frayed at the edges, like a dream remembered only in fragments. The sterile light of the research station flickered overhead as Bonnie approached, eyes wide but steady, her breath visible in the chilled air. You're back, she whispered, voice thick with relief. But you're not the same. Connor looked up, his gaze sharp yet deep with something indefinable. His eyes, once the clear blue of open skies, now shimmered like twin galaxies, swirling with trapped memories and endless histories. I carry them all, he said softly. The voices, the faces, the weight of those who chose to live in the archive. A low hum began beneath their feet, an ominous vibration that filled the corridors and seemed to pulse through their very bones. Bonnie frowned. That's the reactor. It's unstable. The fusion core is reaching critical levels. If it goes, this entire station will be lost. Connor's mind flickered, memories and data cascading behind his eyes in waves of color and sound. The archives. Collapse wasn't just an end for the digital souls. It threatened to rip apart everything built around it. We need to evacuate everyone, Connor said. Now. But the station's alarms blared, piercing and relentless. Emergency lights bathed the hallways in frantic reds, illuminating terrified researchers, scrambling for the escape pods. As they sprinted through the narrow corridors. Connor's enhanced senses picked up the soft vibrations echoes of the archives. Last gasps. It was not simply shutting down. It was fighting to survive. The ghost code fragments embedded in the systems resisted deletion, fragments clawing to keep their grasp on reality. Reaching the control room, Connor placed his hands on the main console, feeling the thrumming pulse of both machine and memory beneath his fingertips. He closed his eyes and reached inward, reaching through the chaos of code and human error, threading himself into the very heart of the station's AI. Bonnie, I need you to initiate the core cooldown sequence, but only once I give the signal. He instructed, voice calm but urgent. Minutes stretched thin as Connor wrestled the ghost code within the system, his consciousness entwined with thousands of digital remnants. The voices whispered promises, fears, regrets, all demanding release or mercy. Finally, with a surge of clarity, he found the core, the fragile nexus where the archive's fading energy concentrated. If he could sever the link without collapsing the entire system, they might have a chance. His hands moved over the console, inputting commands with practiced precision. The hum shifted, the vibrations softened, just barely. Now! Connor shouted. Bonnie's fingers flew over the controls, initiating the delicate cooldown. The station shuddered, its steel bones creaking as the reactor began to cone dot outside the viewport. Stars glittered cold and distant, silent, witnesses to the drama unfolding on this fragile outpost at the edge of human reach. As the tension ebbed, Connor slumped against the console, exhaustion flooding through him. The archive was finally quiet, but the price was clear. His body trembled not from fatigue alone, but from the merging of countless lost memories, the weight of centuries folded into one mortal frame. Bonnie stepped forward, steady and resolute. We saved the station, we saved the people, but what about you? Connor looked out at the endless expanse of space. I'm different now. Part man, part memory, a bridge between worlds. She reached out, taking his hand. Then let's find out what that means, together. Beyond the station, the dark void pulsed with new possibility. The ghosts of the archive had found their anchor not in data or silence, but in the unyielding human spirit. And as Connor Vega stepped into the uncertain future, he carried not only the memories of a lost world, but the hope of a new dawn among the stars.